Hello and welcome to another episode of It Was Mooney, your source for all things movie, streaming, and pop culture related. I'm your host, Kosi, and I'm joined always by Wani B. And, Juan, I actually got a letter from one Maurice, the Live Studio Ostrich, so, I'm really not in not in the right mind space to read this letter, but next week I'll reveal the contents, but Maurice sent us something, so that rat bastard is actually alive and well, able to send me a letter, so, yeah.
Good to hear he's safe.
Sure.
So, we're having a very special episode today, folks. Obviously, we've all heard the big news. For anyone in the States in particular, obviously,
Might be under a rock.
going to be some of the biggest news in some time. Mm-hmm. We'll go over the State of the Union, talk about what happened this weekend with Trump, talk about the aftermath or opinion, general thoughts on
feelings, all that.
Politics, everything. Usually we don't try to get too serious, try to be lighthearted, but it feels
it's too big to miss. Yeah.
We can't be like Maurice and stick our heads under the sand.
Yeah, Maurice.
So we have to confront that issue. And then after that, we switch over to talking about a different type of disaster.
Something a little bit more local, actually.
A little bit more personal. Hurricane Beryl coming barreling through Houston.
I saw what you did there, man.
I'm sorry, that was a bad pun.
Right? People died, bro.
The people actually did die. It's pretty sad.
Yeah, man.
But we go over Hurricane Beryl. We go over our experience, some of our experiences, not just with this, but some of previous storms and other disasters with Texas.
Not our first rodeo, guys.
Talk crap about Texas Power and getting electricity to houses successfully. And then to kind of tie it back to some of the pop culture we all know and love, and then a little bit of a more lighthearted note, we'll talk about some of our favorite natural disasters and storms and movies and popular entertainment.
Yeah, man.
Give some of our favorites on those. So.
Oh, and one more thing.
Oh, and we'll end the show with a quick spin of the wheel for One Shot. We do apologize for missing an episode.
Sorry,
last week.
guys.
With the hurricane, it was frankly difficult. A lot of us didn't have power or
God tried
ability
to drown us.
Really get around pretty much the whole week. So definitely difficult to record. Other priorities. Wild week last week.
Yeah, definitely. We'll
Monday through Sunday, wild week last week, especially in Houston, Texas.
Yeah, man.
All right, so
dude, but first off, dude, good to see you, man.
First of all, cheers, Kosi. Cheers.
Cheers to the audience.
For all of you that don't know, we as a Black and Colombian American folks are still alive in the race wars.
We lived. We did not get canceled.
We have not gotten killed in either. We have not gotten canceled. And no crazy white folks have killed us for looking like terrorists yet.
Isn't it hilarious, like, right after we drop, like, what we thought would cure racism. We figured after this drops, everything in America will be great. Everyone's going to be on board. They'll know exactly what we're talking about. We felt as though we did our job. And then, lo and behold, look what happens, 10 days later.
Well, hold on. Give us credit. It was a white person that shot Trump.
Dude, thank goodness.
And it was. I gotta call this guy.
Did you look real quick? Like, wait. Hold on. All right, cool.
I was very much into it. I would have been very disappointed if it had been any kind of Latino. Bro, I would probably be on a plane right now thinking about getting out of this country if it had been a Latino.
I figured if it was a black person, I just would not. I'd try not to go out for at least a week. Just lay low, get some DoorDash, you know?
I would stop going out so my skin gets a little bit more pale and change my name.
Blend in real quick.
Change my name to John Bills. John.
What do you mean? What do you ever mean? I'm John Bills.
What do you mean, officer? I have never spoken a word of Spanish in my entire life.
I didn't know I couldn't do that.
I didn't know I couldn't do that.
It might have worked.
These are not the Mexicans you're looking for.
No, but I think that was initially, like, I remember, like, we got the video in the group chat. I'm like, Oh man, that's crazy because we're seeing an actual. He almost got JFK'd, but like next thing, like your mind's racing like to different stuff, and like one of the first things was go, who did it? Who's the gunman? There's always a gunman, and it was like,
can we take a second to point out? Obviously, I mean the guy got extremely close to murdering a presidential candidate and former president.
Oh, and just real quick, just to get everybody up to speed. So Donald Trump was having a rally up in Pennsylvania, and during his speech, shots rang out. He was hit. He was okay, and again with how news information is coming through, it's saying he was hit. So he has like that big piece of gauze on his ear. A lot of it was kind of like misinformation type stuff that was coming out about maybe it was some glass or there was like some other stuff, but no, he was definitely injured, but luckily like nothing life threatening. It's just he was like going out. I think he went out golfing the next day, like allegedly. So like he seems to be in good spirits enough to have like a freaking album cover poster reaction.
The picture of him with his fist up, yelling, fight,
covered in blood.
Covered in blood. I mean, whatever you want to say about the man, the guy knows how to pull off a public stunt. This guy is a WWE Hall of Famer.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
He is a reality TV star.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm not saying he planned it.
Of course not,
I'm just saying,
no.
in the moment, he had the presence of mind.
He had the wherewithal to get up and photo op real quick.
To realize he didn't crawl around scared, crying, crapping his pants. His immediate reaction was to stand up, thrust his fists in the air, encourage his supporters. Whatever you want to say about the man, that took some balls.
But Juan, that's not weird to you because you would think if you and I were having like a really intense like group meeting, and like you get shot at, like
I'm gonna tell you a little story to prove to you why I think you're wrong.
Okay.
Why I don't even, frankly, I don't want to be insulting, but why I truly just believe you're wrong.
Okay.
So one time, in a nice little area, it was basically some apartments that were basically like retirement home kind of apartments, right? Like meant for the elderly. Not like they didn't have nurses and stuff, but like you had to be at least 70 to live there. Or
super
something.
Old people.
At least like 60 or something, right? It was like meant for like retirees.
Okay.
To live in a nice, comfortable apartment close to the highway, have some additional amenities that you'd expect for older folks. Not again, they didn't have like nurses and all this stuff, but maybe like a little bit closer to a hospital and like more direct links to some of this stuff, right? Like more comfortable pools and spas and stuff, right? So again, meant for my grandparents were living there. Nice little place, right? Not like in a necessarily super nice part of town, but still a decent part of town, right? Nothing you'd expect.
Right.
And again, it's like a gated community, walls all around, not the kind of thing you'd ever expect anything bad to happen, right? So one time, my grandparents were driving in with my aunt. She was driving the car. They all got out. And these two dudes, they were black, sorry, Cozy.
Uh-oh.
No, but these two guys pulled guns out on my aunt and my grandparents. I think my grandparents might have actually already been headed off by them, but definitely on my aunt. And basically, like, get down, give us the keys, we're going to take the car. And yeah, they stole the car. Right? And the point of the story is my aunt, who's, at the time was what? At least 40s or 50s, not, skinny, pale lady.
Yeah.
Right, not any kind of person that's going to get to any kind of fight with anybody, anything like that. Her reaction was not getting down on the ground, crying, and like immediately following all directions and acting like she was going to die. She started like trying to take pictures of them and like being a bit difficult and like, just like acting up basically, right? She even told me afterwards, she's like, that's stupid, right? That's not a logical thing. But that's my point to all this story I'm saying. When you have these intense moments, when you have these crazy moments of huge adrenaline, unexpected moments, all reason and rationale, what would I do if I calmly thought about it in a cold room while drinking a glass of wine? Right. No, all that goes out the window. It's pure instinct. It's pure reaction. there's the 1% of humanity that's actually trained to deal with something like this, right? To actually deal with having a gun pointed at their face, the cops and army folks and stuff like that, right? Mm-hmm. The vast majority of people, their reaction is going to be pure instinct, pure adrenaline, pure emotion. And sometimes that's going to pop up as bravery. Maybe delusional bravery. If there was another shooter, Donald Trump could have got popped immediately after putting his head up. But my point is to sit here and be like, oh, why didn't Donald Trump rationally think about it and like crawl out? It's not about rationality. It's not about making sense. It's not something you think about. Your ears are pounding. Your heart is beating 200 beats per minute.
Yeah, I definitely get your point. Sorry to cut you off there, but
yeah,
I'm just saying, like, you would think there were like the whole idea of like self-preservation is a human, almost instinctual thing. I'm just saying, like, I think more that people than not, I'll just disagree with you on that one. I think more people than not will more so go to self-preservation and duck and get down. It's hyper unusual to me to see someone go against that, not worry about preserving himself, because, and still get up. And that's why
it's not so much about self-preservation or not. It's less about it just being irrational. And again, there's all kinds of examples, right? We've seen famous examples of people straight up willing to die, often in horrific ways for something they believe in.
Yeah, or just people just springing into action, like, as you said, like not really thinking, but just kind of reacting and like doing. And he's a reactor, so it also felt very on brand for him. Like, it kind of would have felt kind of weird to see him kind of cower and like get away, even though that's, to me, logically, I'm like, why? But like, it almost kind of made the moment even what it is, an iconic moment where like.
The photo of him is going to be something in history books.
Unfortunately.
It's not going to be the kind of thing that goes away. I mean, whatever you want to say about the man, not really a fan of his policies, personality, really most things about him. But it's pretty impressive for him to react the way he did.
And just hearing the stories of just like, this could have been prevented, and like the security measures, and like, I'm not sure what security looks like at these rallies, because like they're open air spaces, like, it's for people to gather together in open space. It's not like, I don't know if they're like checking there's not really a door or anything. So like, like,
so
what does that even look like?
I'm sure some of it's classified and some of it,
obviously,
but, what kind of you hear and mention, I mean, you obviously see the Secret Service guys in the suits close to the president, all bodyguard style. But there's plenty of other dudes that are snipers in full combat gear, hidden away, ready, like, you're supposed to assess all the different shooting spots.
There are a whole lot of videos on the internet of just like people saying, "Hey, we have footage. Like, what's happening?" Like,
we're not talking about people like just, this isn't some event that's planned, a few hours before, and then they have like a little, like 2 or 3 security guys walking around.
It's a rally. It's a Trump rally.
No, it's a whole, it's dozens of people, highly professionally trained people that are supposed to canvass all these.
And it's city to city, so like know what you know what it is when you show up. But I guess here,
these events theoretically are supposed to have a lot of planning. They're supposed to look at all the different vantage points, all the different weak points.
And they are, because up until now, how often had you heard about like high security breaches like this in his? Not really. Like,
I mean, not recently, obviously. Reagan got shot at some point. Obviously, JFK, although that guy was just a great shot.
Hey, do we count when they threw that shoe at George W. and like he like ducked his head out the way?
Bro, they got pretty close. Imagine if that shoe had like a blade on it. You know what I mean?
Dude, George W.
Now, W had some good reflexes.
3 youngins out there, yeah. I don't know where that is. I think he was giving like some kind of like summit speech or
like some courtroom or something.
Yeah, like someone just was like, "Hey, man, screw you," and just threw a boot at him, and George W. with his cat-like reflexes got out the way.
Whatever you want to think about his president, that was a good dodge.
Okay, so that doesn't count as attempted, obviously.
No, I mean, that's maybe attempted assault, but I mean, come on, it's a shoe.
It is a shoe, guys. He's fine.
Like, come on. George Bush wasn't that old at the time.
And thankfully so is the president. Again, just got nicked in the ears. Like again, in the photo op, it was like you could kind of, all you saw was like the blood.
His ear looked pretty messed up. His ear looked pretty damn messed up.
Remind me of the Tyson Evander Holyfield bite. Remember how Holyfield's ear looked? That's like the first thing I thought of. Like, oh, jeez.
There's some movie where a guy gets his ear blown off and tries to put it back.
Oh man,
They like play it for laughs.
I know the movie you're talking about.
I can't remember.
It's a Seth Rogen movie. Oh, Pineapple Express.
Yes, Pineapple Express. Seth Rogen gets his ear blown off. Yeah. That's what that reminded me of. No, man. Couple comments. So first of all, about the shooter.
Oh yeah, the shooter. Yes. Yeah.
I'm gonna rip on this guy a little bit. First of all, it's a guy whose last name is Crooks. That's a little on the nose. You know what I mean? Like if somebody was writing this out, if somebody was script writing this out, and you came up to say, "Hey, the guy who attempts to kill the president, his last name is going to be Crooks."
Got it.
The editor would look at that person, or producer, or whoever you want to call it, tell him to take it back to the writing board.
Yes.
Get serious. Take some writing classes. Maybe come up with less stupid names. So just to start, dude's last name was Crooks.
But he was like, kind of like a social outcast, kind of I'd say bullied. Depending on what you'd say.
You know what? So I've seen some pictures of him.
Uh-oh.
Dude.
Don't do it to him, Juan.
Dude looked like an extra from Trailer Park Boys. His high school photo looks like he was Matthew Lillard's inbred cousin.
He just on some level he looked troubled.
On some level, you kind of, you're against bullying and stuff. But on some other level, we were all at that age, and there's certain people that are almost hard not to bully. You know what I mean?
And I think from the looks of it, because they interviewed his classmates, and they were like, yeah, he was kind of a crazy guy. So it's like people are definitely painting the picture.
Honestly, I wonder how much. Like, if you're his classmate, you probably didn't interact with him too much.
Yeah, how... I don't know.
How much is it people just looking for their 5 minutes of fame?
Yeah.
Or maybe, it could be people they're staunch, Trump haters or whatever, and so they're trying to be like, oh yeah, clearly this guy was a Trump lover. I don't think you can read too much into it. I don't think you can pretend this guy was a liberal. I don't think you can pretend this guy was like a secret liberal that. Communist or Antifa or something.
Well, I think that's what naturally will happen. Like the finger pointing will. I kind of definitely saw this part happening. Intense finger pointing.
Before anything had come out, there was already people saying that Biden had ordered this. So and not random people on the internet. We're talking about a U.S. congressman.
It was kind of strange.
A U.S. congressman, somebody who theoretically should know better. Coming out. Even Trump. I just want to give Trump a little more credit. I always feel like I'm giving too much credit to Trump. I do not want him to win the presidency. Let me just state that clearly. Don't love Biden, but let me just be clear on that. But his first reaction on social media, his first statements were, hey, let's wait for the facts.
It's kind of measured. Yeah, it's been measured. More measured than I thought it would be. I honestly
expected him to say... It's Biden's turn.
I thought he quadrupled down.
I honestly
was
thought
waiting for the
it's time. Down. It's time. They're taking me out. It's time to go after the Democrats. I was honestly low-key worried about some Civil War race shit popping off.
Which I think again I described as a powder keg type situation. Like what's gonna spark this off, and that's why I was like, I think he either didn't care or just wasn't privy to the fact that hey, what he says could sway a lot of people in certain ways, and I think he understood that and made the right call with that call for peace. He's right.
A few comments along the lines of oh, this is going to be an epiphany moment for Trump, and he's going to be more measured and presidential now. I don't believe it. I frankly don't believe it.
It's wait and see. It's wait and see.
We've had other moments where Trump said some things that didn't sound too bad.
He went totally
that
bad.
Sounded pretty reasonable. And the next day he had gone back to being good old Trump. Trump's the kind of person that'll say things to your face to, win your trust in the moment so he can then stab you in the back later. Definitely don't want to trust anything that guy says.
No, but yeah, again, I'm glad. But I think also he's not an idiot. What he did was what any logical person would do in this moment. Hey, dude, you almost died. it is what it is. Now let's try to let's all just chill out, which we all should now. Let's all just.
It's one of those things that's cool to say, But here on the podcast, chilling in our living room, all relaxed and cool. But the adrenaline's pumping. It's easy to get carried away, and Trump's been the kind of guy that's gotten carried away plenty of times.
Yeah, he's definitely been a guy.
There's not some dude that's known for his tremendous impulse control.
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time I saw one of his little True Social posts that wasn't an all caps screeching. You know what I mean? It's not a guy who tends to be calm, measured.
Do you think it'll help if he just
collected?
If he just pressed all caps? You think it'll help in just a teeny tiny bit, just getting his point across? Because you're right. Anything that's all caps, I just figure you're just a crazy person.
What's the line? Press all caps when you say the man name.
Hey, MF. Hey, man.
MF Doom.
R.I.P., brother.
But, no, man. It's the memes on the internet, too.
Oh, my God. The internet has come together in a way that only the way Americans and the internet can, and the world, honestly, could come together
I'm
in such a way.
honestly surprised.
Fire memes.
We haven't seen some boomers talking about how back in their day, presidential assassins finished their job. Lee Harvey Oswald is the GOAT, shot the president from fucking 10 buildings away, sniper rifle. This dude gets a point-blank shot. Gen Z, man. Gen Z falling off.
Oh, they're blaming it on the kids?
Boomers falling off.
Anything just to crap on the younger
liberals.
generation.
The liberals made the bullets woke. It's woke bullets. It's woke bullets. They couldn't kill Trump. If it had real bullets, it would have got the job done.
The finger that pulled the trigger had nail polish on it.
That's the problem, man. It was originally a woman or something. So, man, it's some funny memes. The guy looks like he's from Trailer Park Boys, bro.
No, it's fire memes, and I think memes have become a thing. Honestly, it shows what's going on in the culture right now, what we find funny, but also it's just become a way for people just to cope with crazy stuff. It's been a way for us to kind of laugh at really absurd, horrible stuff.
We were talking a little bit about it. I honestly think I'm at a point where things have gotten so surreal, so beyond what I thought was the norm and the standard that I'm, oh, hey, this is America. Things happen a certain way here. We have a certain order. Not to say it's a perfect country.
Yeah.
Right? But
there's a kind of decorum we have here.
Presidential candidates getting assassinated isn't part of the plan.
They're outliers. They're super outliers. They've happened in our country's history, but they're super duper outliers.
Not even that long ago is the funny thing. Again, Donald Reagan got shot apparently because some guy was trying to impress Jodie Forster.
Is that? Hold on, because
it's one of those things that you hear on the internet, and it's probably a joke, but. At the same time, crazy people do crazy things. This guy looked like he wanted to do a school shooting and then procrastinated and forgot to do it before he graduated, so he decided to shoot up Trump instead.
He was too busy leaving a really, really long Reddit reply.
Yeah, his manifesto, he couldn't get around to writing his manifesto. He had too much ADD. The Gen Z, he was on the fidget spinner too long, so he had to. Do they use fidget spinners at that age? My little brother did.
But I think
my little brother did in 18. I guess they're close, right?
What's so crazy about it is
We're gonna go to hell, bro.
What's so no, they're fine. I think what's so crazy about it is he was 20. He's just a kid. At that age,
had his whole life ahead of him.
At that age, what's And yes, the guy that did try to assassinate Reagan. Yes, he had he saw Jodie Foster in Taxi Driver when she was a teenager. He saw 15 times and just went off from there. But yeah,
it's kind of wild considering Taxi Driver is a movie about a weird lone guy getting
social
radicalized and shooting people up.
Isn't it weird?
I didn't realize till I watched that movie. He gets rewarded and treated as the hero.
That's why the ending of Joker kind of reminded me of that. Okay, so in the end he kind of gets some love.
No, but even in Joker, he's clear the Joker's the bad guy.
Yeah, but
he gets some celebration, but it's clear.
Right.
In the movie, the Taxi Driver. Again, the movie makes it clear he's the bad guy.
Yes, yes.
But he gets openly celebrated. He wins.
Yep,
the bad guy wins.
Yeah,
it's a trip.
Yeah. But going back to the kid, he's just a kid. He's 20 years old. And what has warped him? What has swayed him so much to where he wants to go and he definitely feels disillusioned with everything, unless he wouldn't do this.
Can I say
what's done this to him?
It's probably dark, but considering how many people have gone out to schools to shoot defenseless kids, right? Out of some need to be famous for, I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I
It'd
really
be cool
don't
if
know.
we knew so we could stop this stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, right or left, whatever your politics are, it seems the most likely outcome that this is another one of those tragic cases.
Yeah.
Loner, outcast, got some ideology or mentality in his head.
Yeah, he got swayed. Yeah.
And then decided that, probably his shout out for fame and attention and meaning in his life was, hey, I'm going to kill Trump. Right? I don't know if. Honestly, it could be anything. It could be some super right wing guy that thought Trump was a little too soft. Or maybe it could be some guy that thought, oh, hey, Trump gets killed and, be a martyr, and then that'll kind of kick off, the rapture or something, the Civil War or whatever you want to call it, the race war.
Yeah, but bottom line, that's whatever kind of. I know this might sound like naive, but like whatever change you want. I'll say two things. Whatever change you want to have happen, that's not the way to go. But I still think that it's good to let the people in charge, politicians, know that like that you need to be heard, and like some things just won't stand, and like that guy definitely felt fed up, and I don't think Donald Trump would have really heard him out otherwise, and like that kind of pressure isn't on our leaders currently, and like I think that people are fed up, but I don't think the way to go about it is through violence, but I definitely understand the sentiment behind it.
I think with some of these, I don't know. I'm not a psychologist. I think you have to be so beyond the norm, because this isn't some. I don't know. Even Lee Harvey Oswald seemed like he had, or John Wilkes Booth or something. They had like it was like a political assassination. This honestly felt kind of like a school shooting that just happened to be aimed at a presidential candidate. You know what I mean?
Really, if it definitely felt he was going after him. That's what.
Right. No,
that's what it looked like.
He
That's
was.
what it looked like.
But it felt
What
like
do you mean by?
I don't know. It just felt like that mindset of, oh, I'm gonna shoot up a school to be famous and to establish myself.
Oh, you think like
I'm gonna take it a different step.
You think
and
his
go,
motivations were more kind of like how a school shooter would go about it than how an assassinator of a political figure. Okay.
You know what
okay,
I mean?
see what you mean.
Again, the other examples, Lee Harvey Oswald, even the guy who tried to shoot Teddy Roosevelt, John Wilkes Booth, they were older men with a clear-cut political ideology. You know what I mean? This was some loser 20-year-old, right? This wasn't some guy who had a fully formed, like, oh, the president is dangerous and I have to take him out at all cost. This wasn't a hired gun. I don't know. It just felt sad.
It definitely felt sad, but I disagree. I think it definitely was pointed. I think only the information will come out, but I think just from what's being pieced together about him, I definitely think as though he felt disillusioned with what's going on.
Let me ask you this. Do you think he had some political gains in plan, or do you think he just wanted to kind of express his rage out on the world and like kind of be famous for it?
I think it was more political.
You think it was more political?
I think so, just because of who he was going
after. I guess we'll see.
But yeah,
we'll see. I don't know. I've gotten something. Right, we're just speculating.
Of course, we don't know.
But we don't have a way to access this guy's mind. Obviously, he's dead. Yeah. I don't know. It just felt to me. It just felt more to me along those lines.
I think the one thing I don't like, though, this is one thing that's kind of risen through, like definitely with COVID and all that, like how conspiracy theories and like how even like getting like the data from the source, people kind of like say, oh, that source sucks. Let me get my own data. So like I always like the waters, the information, the information.
Well, that's the thing about conspiracies. They're appealing because they provide simple answers, and frankly, they come across. They make it seem like there's a plot like in a movie.
So it's more entertaining than like the real truth,
right? So okay, like look at what you said earlier about how like Trump, instead of the rational thing is to crawl around. Why was he not crawling around? Why is he standing up and pumping his fist? again, if you're trying to look for some like narrative reason where, oh hey, Trump is supposed to be this rational actor that does things in a certain way, and then if he doesn't, then oh look, him standing up means he wasn't really scared, which means it wasn't real, which means like
go down another rabbit hole.
He planned it, right?
Yeah.
Oh, and then the reason he was able to get up so easily, supposedly from Secret Service, is because they wanted him to be there so he could shoot at him and blah blah blah. But guess what? He was just had his adrenaline pumping, and his first instinct was to be a showman. He's been a showman all his life. It's not the wildest instinct for him to have, right?
Right.
He's the kind of guy who's been, in big stadiums with thousands of people staring at him, and he loves that stuff. He loves rallies. He loves that feeling. So it's not entirely wild that his first instinct was to rally his supporters, right? To me, I mean, the whole point is that looking at it from trying to find some rationale to it is silly. People just do things.
It's not even me finding, again, going back to that, it's not me being rational about it. I'll say, looking at the video, it's just like, wow. Like, his instinct isn't to make sure he doesn't get his head blown off again. I think also, looking back also, I think by the time he did the photo op, he'd been either notified or could see visually that the threat had been taken out. So he could just go,
more than likely.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously,
so
part of the risk would be that there's a second shooter. The risk would be that there's a second shooter.
Again, he still had no like awareness of that. So I was like, wow, that's crazy.
But again, okay. I would just say they're trying to look for some kind of rational explanation. People just act.
Right.
Really, I hope people take that up. People just act.
Yeah. And Donald Trump's
why
the
Secret Service failed to catch the shooter. You want to know why? For the same reason BP failed to stop their stuff from blowing up, and when they destroyed the Gulf all those years ago, for the same reason we let some terrorists that had a tenth of the power or a hundredth of the power of the U.S. military blow up the World Trade buildings. For the same reason a lot of this stuff happens, because human beings aren't perfect. People make mistakes. People get lazy or complacent. They get incompetent. They have lapses of judgment. Any number of things. We've seen it time and again. I think trying to look for some perfect story where everybody acted fully rationally and nobody made mistakes. People do. People make mistakes. There should be consequences. Some of the Secret Service people need to answer for how they just left this building totally wide open and why they didn't react when people told them that some guy was climbing up on that building.
Yeah, definitely raised some questions, again, just from what we know from like videos taken by people that are there. They said they saw the guy get up to his high point, get in position. Obviously, they're bystanders. What are they going to do? But like, good for recording. Like, frankly,
I'm glad we have that. Like, you shouldn't. The fact that he's getting onto a building with a whole president nearby, usually that would be enough for people to freak out. But I mean, if you just look at him, probably lots of Trump supporters that looked exactly like that guy. You know what I mean? Or he was wearing some shirt with a group that like.
Oh yeah,
it's not like a right wing group, but it's a shirt of a group that likes guns and stuff.
Yeah,
he did not come across as some liberal plant or something. Most people there probably would have thought he was one of the rally goers, maybe trying to get a better view. That's another thing that doesn't get mentioned. Like he looked like he was a Trump supporter.
Yeah, it was a Demolition Ranch. He's like a YouTuber guy.
He went shirt again. If
I
see a guy that looks like a hick wearing a Demolition Ranch shirt, I don't know anything about Demolition Ranch mostly, but if I see that, my first instinct is, this guy is here to support Trump.
Yeah,
not here to shoot him up.
Turns out they're into like gun safety. They're a YouTube channel, very prominent one. So, he had to come out with a video actually and tell everybody, "Hey, man, I'm not on that stuff. I'm not about that life, guys. Please no." And that's kind of the world we live in. Like that was the worst kind of publicity you could ever get.
By far.
So like, good for him for stepping in front of that one. But yeah,
seems
that's
like
how
a
it
nice
goes.
guy from a little I've heard and seen of him.
Yeah, man.
But
So what do you think will happen next? Like, because going to November, we're 2 weeks out of August. That'll leave us 3 months to November.
Frankly, the race was already starting to look bad for Biden after the debate. I don't want to get into a political pundit type stuff.
It was not good. It just was not good.
Biden looks like a fossil. Even when he has decent moments, he still looks like somebody who should be at home.
And let's not get it twisted. Neither does Trump, but like it's very.
Trump's no spring chicken.
But it's very, very evident.
But
with Biden.
Quite frankly, the problem is Trump supporters will vote for him pretty much no matter what he does, says, or does, or to any extent. I mean, the dude.
I think for both sides, they're kind of made up. The lines have been drawn.
At some point, there was a rumor that Trump was wearing diapers because he was incontinent, and his supporters responded by deciding that diapers were manly and awesome. You know what I mean? These people have no limit to how deep they'll go to support their guy.
I think that kind of like intense backing, no matter who it is not healthy for anybody.
It's not. It's cult-like.
That's very, very strange. Like, again, like, I would just hope that you would just be up to speed on, like, also just locally, figure out locally who you can vote for locally, and like look there if you're just unsure about a candidate, because a lot of the times, like, some people kind of just don't even think about that, and I definitely see that, and it's a daunting thing to even consider, like, voting, getting registered, and all that. But it's very, very important if you want, real change to be seen. But it's easier just to go on Twitter and just type this out.
Absolutely, absolutely agree with everything you said. Frankly, man, Biden already looked like he was in a dark spot in the race.
I don't know what his issue is, man. That guy's.
I mean, he's too old. We already all kind of knew it. But he at least had some moments recently where he seemed okay. And at the State of the Union, he seemed like he was a little bit sharper. Even Republicans were talking about how they were feeding him some of those limitless drugs and cocaine and whatnot.
Yeah, like the super PACs.
Yeah, just so that that's why he seemed that's why he didn't seem as bad as they had claimed he was all these years. But I think honestly, even Republicans were surprised by how embarrassing Biden was in that debate. But it really felt like an old man just reaching his limit, hitting that wall.
And he's really stubborn, and he won't step down. Like, ask him to step down from the race. No, he believes in this race. He believes he can win.
He thinks he's the only person that could beat Trump.
Yeah, like he's not gonna back down. And like Trump's the same way. He's not gonna back down. People are like, hey man, you're up against 34 of these charges in court. Like,
they're two of the most unpopular presidents ever. I mean, people don't really like Trump. It's just people have gotten so disillusioned with Biden. I mean, again, I can't blame him. At some point, you see some guy, and we've already seen Dianne Feinstein dying in office. We've already seen Ruth Bader Ginsburg. We saw Mitch McConnell freeze up and looked like he was having a seizure.
Yeah, he reset like a PS1. It was crazy.
Yeah, right. We've seen all this. So to suggest that we're supposed to vote for a president that already shows serious signs of aging, and we're supposed to trust him to handle the fort for another 4 years, it's depressing. I get why people end up wanting to sit out, end up wanting to vote third party, end up wanting to do anything but having to.
I can definitely understand. I just didn't know much about third party, but I'm finding out more about third party from friends, close friends, and I definitely see how these other options are viable, look better, and it's unfortunate that our current two-party system is giving us these two choices that a lot of people seem to be just super duper against on either side of.
Once upon a time, it was Barack Obama, up and coming senator, very well spoken, very educated, very fabulous public speaker, super charismatic, had some interesting ideas, very smart guy. Versus John McCain, decorated war veteran, super stand-up guy. Might not have agreed with his policies, but
the 2008 election,
you absolutely believed everything he did. He believed was in the best interest of America.
They weren't crazy guys. They were
whatever you want to say. You might say, "Oh, deregulation is bad," blah blah blah, tax cuts. I'm not gonna sit here and argue with you the minutiae for your policies. People have their different things they believe and don't believe in. But these were decent folk who you truly believed were trying to take the position, in part because of ambition, but in part because they wanted to serve the country. Right? And they were very smart people, very successful people. And Biden and Trump are not it, man. 80-year-old Biden and Trump are not it. Frankly, Trump is not that much better from an age perspective than Biden.
People forget that, too. They're very, very close in.
Dude's starting to bald. Yeah. Dude's looking more pale all the time. He's looking weaker. Good for him on the photo op, but let's not act like Trump's some super well-spoken, articulate guy with.
Oh man, and we keep on. We did not even mention this. So Trump, in a surprising move, went and got himself a VP.
Yes.
Yeah, man, JD Vance of Vance Refrigeration.
Yes.
That JD Vance. So
Once
congratulations to him.
called Trump potential American Hitler, and said the best case is that he was a crook like Nixon. That was his best case, that he would be as bad as some guy generally considered the worst president of all time.
But I guess what I'm realizing now, that's just part of the game. Like, hey, it's a person that you were up against before that you fling crap at.
Well, so here's the
could
thing.
eventually become
Here's
your
the
VP.
thing.
It's how it goes.
So there's always obviously been big political disagreements, but you look at what happened with Democrats, right?
Right.
It might have been like, okay, Bernie has pushed policies that are bad. His policies are going to ruin America. They might say, hey, Biden's out of touch. They might say Biden voted for some stuff back in the day that's pretty bad if you look at it now. But all of them were like, hey, Joe Biden's a great guy. I think I should be president over him, but Joe Biden's a great guy.
Like, they can vouch for him, like, on a personal level, you're saying.
They're not insulting each other.
Right, they're not flinging stuff. Yeah.
Right? They're not, like, attacking. They're not sending personal attacks. Right? They're not calling each other idiots. They're not calling each other potential Hitlers, or saying that your best case scenario is being a potential Nixon. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Like, Kamala might have gone hard at Biden, but it was hard in a political sense. It's like, hey, I really, truly disagreed with previous political positions you took, and because you previously took them, I don't believe you'll take good political positions in the future, so you're a bad choice for president.
In just Kamala's case in particular, she did kind of go a little bit kind of uncalled for.
She went a little bit.
To call her out specifically.
She went a little bit.
And I just know about hers because I've seen it. But yeah.
She went a little bit below the belt.
Yeah, just so
not even entirely. Not even entirely.
Of course. But just, yeah.
Not totally out of pocket, but she did not particularly go to her way to insult Biden personally.
Yeah, it's not the same. You're saying it's not to the level you've seen on, like, the Republican side.
See, here's the difference. It's, again, political disagreements. And yes, of course, they eventually, for political expedience, frankly, like, just, you have a nominating process. They say, hey, I want to be the nominee for the Democratic Party. Kind of a sore loser if you say, hey, if I'm not the nominee, nobody's
going to do it.
Yeah, right? So, of course they have their disagreements and their fights, but it's a civil fight. Versus Trump is just slinging mud. He's just talking shit. He's just insulting people. A lot of these other guys, again, like J.D. Vance didn't say, oh, I don't agree with Trump's policies and he's a bad choice for America. J.D. Vance said
some, like, nuclear stuff.
Yeah, like really insulting, the kind of stuff you surprised Trump was just willing to get over. So, again, that's a little more extreme. That's my point. Like, it's not the same thing.
But Trump picked him. I'm assuming Trump, like, would just, points to you and say, hey, come with me. So, like, I don't even know how, like, in this case, like, because...
Well, he had already, even before this, pivoted back to being very supportive of Trump.
Okay. All right. I figured, because, you got to, within your political leaning, you got to play ball at least, or else, like, you fall out of...
again, there's a limit. If you
and
call a guy
whatnot,
a threat to the country, and then you go like, I'm voting for him, that just hits different from saying... hey, this guy's Medicaid policy sucks. My Medicaid policy is better. And then you say vote for him. It's like, okay, yeah, his Medicaid policy is at least better than the Republicans. With Trump, it's like, how can you suggest people vote for some guy you once called an idiot?
Right.
How can you run with him? How can you run with somebody you think is an idiot?
Look, man, I just hope everyone chills out. Let's just come together. Hey, look, It was I think it was one of those things where, like, it definitely made me just look around and say, geez, like, I was definitely anxious days after that, just going out into the world, because, it reminded me that people are crazy, and people, I'm afraid of, like, just retaliation of just people are just fed up in every aisle that you could think of politically, and, like, I think it's harder to understand each other. And so instead of doing that, he's either just to fight or just let out the frustrations. And we're seeing that, and that's just unfortunate. So, yeah, man.
But I think it's time we switch it up a little.
Just a little bit, though, because it's still kind of some
we
stuff.
We went a little deep on the politics. Again, usually we won't focus too hard on politics. We try to preach or tell you who to vote for. We welcome all listeners, but it's hard not to talk about such a momentous historic event.
And I really do appreciate you like just giving your thoughts, just not just to me, but like to the listeners, just on just how you felt about that. I also did the same, but like I definitely wanted to hear, because I definitely liked your approach and your take. A lot of crazier takes, but like you and like I definitely our friend circle, like our takes on this have been great. So just having you just like
yeah, I'm not trying to dunk on people.
Yeah, I love that. Like just everyone we know has been like great to listen to.
It's unstable times. It reminds me of that curse. May you live in interesting times. Right? It sounds cool at first until you realize interesting is not a positive word.
I still think though, despite I think I was saying it earlier, I still think though, despite it being crazy times, I still think there is room and there's still the ability to have discourse and talk about our ideas, no matter how crazy they are. It's just that it's harder to talk sometimes.
I don't know what the exact percentage is. I have a lot of people I interact with who I can have very civil discussions, great discussions, even when we disagree. It's not everybody's passionate and trying to set things on fire if somebody disagrees with them immediately. I think social media, the news, I mean, it's cliche at this point. But seriously, that loud person on the internet responding on every Twitter post, screaming about how he's going to kill all the blacks and the Jews and whatnot, that's one guy or a bot or something else. Or it could be a dozen guys. Right, it's not indicative.
But people attribute that to their experience on the internet, unfortunately.
Yeah,
and
it's not generally indicative of how real people and regular people work.
No one interacts like that. We are all able to discuss civilly and be cool after. That's what makes the world cool. We're able to like still have our different opinions and still come together and be friends and talk about them. So
yeah, but yeah, so we want to pivot a little bit and talk about other disasters.
Another one. Man,
this one is natural, not man-made.
So thank goodness. I recently was on work leave, so I wasn't even in the state of Texas.
Cozy's one of those guys. Cozy's one of those guys that use Ted Cruz light. Leaves the state when it needs him the most.
Yeah.
Nah, it's okay with Cozy does it because he has no value and no ability to influence Centerpoint or ERCOT or any of the Centerpointless. That's the new one, Centerpointless.
Yeah, man.
Usually we dump on ERCOT. That's the
ERCOT.
That's the power. That's the main power supplier here in Texas. And Centerpoint.
How happy is ERCOT right now?
It's just a distributor. The problem is it's a local problem. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I kind of feel for Centerpoint a little bit because a lot of it is just like fallen trees.
Yeah, they physically can't restore these areas.
It's not that they can't generate power. Our previous problems with the power grid, the freeze, these other situations, it was that they couldn't generate enough power for everyone, and some down lines and some other projects.
Oh, and sorry for the listeners. This is because there was a hurricane in our
Hurricane
neck of the woods.
Beryl.
Yeah, in our neck of the woods, we get hurricanes here.
Obviously, we're focusing on Houston, and we'll talk a little bit about our personal experience. But this was a hurricane that started in the Caribbean.
Oh yeah, crazy trajectory.
A Category 5 hurricane over Caribbean islands. From what I understand, there's some islands that have just basically been annihilated.
They're still underwater as of like a couple like last week.
There's some islands that are effectively destroyed.
Yeah, it's kind of
smaller islands, not some of the bigger ones.
Yeah.
Not to say what happened in Houston was, a fun time, but the level of destruction in comparison, our hearts go out to these people. Our hearts go out to the folks who truly suffered, who've had their homes and their livelihood destroyed.
11 people and counting here in Houston, the Houston area. Could be more than that. But
yeah, it's some of these countries, again, some of these countries will take years to recover, right? We've seen other cases like this.
Yeah.
Where this level of disaster for a small island country without too much resources can take years to get back to where they were, years to rebuild. It's a mess. It's a tragedy.
And when it got through with them, we figured, okay, it'll just kind of dissipate and stay in the Yucatan.
Yeah, usually that's not what happened. Like, so it got into Mexico. I mean, I was, it was one of those, I'm reading about this hurricane happening.
Yeah.
Right? This is not something I have to worry about. Nobody told me, it's about to hit Houston. It's only until a few days later where, again, it had already made landfall and hit these islands. It's supposed to die out at that point and be a tropical storm. We're supposed to get
tropical storm.
We're supposed to get a good chunk of rain.
Just rain. That's all tropical storm
maybe
is. Rain and wind.
Few people lose power. Most people still go to work.
Like 30 to like maybe at the most 50-mile-an-hour winds in a tropical storm. It's like nothing.
Yeah, it's not like a big deal.
Yeah.
But no, it's re-strengthened back up to a Category 1 hurricane right before hitting Houston.
God, it was like an 80-mile-an-hour winds.
And frankly,
coming
Category 1, I mean, obviously Category 5, all that stuff is worse.
The worst one.
But, a hurricane is a hurricane.
Yeah.
Even a Category 1, as we see here in Houston, very destructive.
Yeah.
So, Kosa, you weren't here. I'll walk you through some of the highlights.
Please do, man.
I got luckier than most. I lost power for several hours instead of several days. I had power back, I think, 5-6 hours after it initially went down.
Okay.
It helps that I'm pretty close to a hospital. I'm pretty sure that's why. The way the grid is set up, if you're pretty close to a hospital or another utility, usually you tend to go up first because the utilities and hospitals and stuff have to operate.
I didn't realize that. Okay.
Right? So I think that's kind of what happened. Because there was actually a lot of stuff around my house, pitch black, no electricity, a lot of places near my house, but I was fine. I even had internet and everything. No cell servers, barely any cell servers. I guess towers got knocked out.
Yeah.
So I couldn't really call people, but I could text or FaceTime and stuff. And so, it was chill. I was even working from home and stuff. Around 7 p.m. that night, my power inexplicably cut off.
Oh, man.
Or the working theory I have, and I've talked to some other people who agree that it sounds reasonable, is that they were trying to fix power lines and accidentally cut an internet cable in the area because my provider was not able to give me any kind of realistic update. I think it took 2 days almost for me to get proper internet back.
Damn.
So again, I was lucky the most. There's still people today, a week later, without power.
That's the craziest part. Even coming back, I was like, because they had a tracker that was like, hey, because Centerpoint. So back in May, we had a small tornado that touched down in Houston area, which knocked out Centerpoint's mechanism that showed where the power outages were. You're able to go to Centerpoint and look to see down to your block where energy was. This storm in May knocked that out. Centerpoint was supposed to have this back working by the end of June, but obviously it didn't. And then the storm came and hit, so they had to make this makeshift tracker that showed only how many people were out of power and how many people were helped. And all through the night, the amount of people that didn't have power was increasing, and the amount of people that weren't getting that were getting help was decreasing, and it was fluctuating back to the point where there's 2.7 million people in a city of 4 million that didn't have power.
Absolutely wild.
Which is insane to think about numbers wise, people without power. So for a good 3 days.
I mean, the storm only lasted
how long? Yeah,
6-7 hours or something.
Really? Was it just that Monday morning?
Yeah, it was just Monday. By noon, there was sun out.
What?
At least here. I mean, obviously, it kept going farther up.
Because it went up north. Yeah,
but it flew through fairly quickly.
It's amazing.
But I mean, the rain, everything, and again, the winds.
That's what'll get you.
We've had other hurricanes, not usually landing in Houston, to be fair, but I mean, the way it knocked down trees was unbelievable. There was at least one neighborhood where the front of every yard, and people started picking up a little bit, just covered with tree branches, cut up trees, trunks, all kinds of stuff. There's parts where you couldn't get to squeeze through the street basically because there was so many trees everywhere and fallen. There's just no room to drive.
It was trees and fences that really
fence got destroyed.
My fence, after I came back from my work trip. My fence was also taken down. We had to get it put up this morning. Actually,
my fence was destroyed.
Yeah, but it's crazy. Just the I think it was up to over 100-mile-an-hour winds that morning, Monday morning. They were saying because it was straight up
rough.
hurricane level. It was 80 mile, but it was bad.
It was pretty rough.
But just the fallout, people just didn't have power for 4 days.
We're in the middle of the summer in Houston.
Oh my gosh!
There's not a place where it's safe to have no power.
It'll be 95, 100 degrees during the day, and
it's not a place. It's humid as hell.
Inside is 90.
You can't sit in the porch and cool down. It's a nightmare.
Man, and I don't know, and I think what I saw, what actually looking back over here when I was on work leave, just seeing how everybody came together. Like people were holding like, hey, all of our meat's about to get destroyed. Let's have a big barbecue. Like down in Galveston, they're doing that. And like you see people like, hey, I have all this extra food. We don't want to waste. People coming together and like feeding each other. Like that's what Houston's all about. I think if we're gonna go segue into this part, like looking back at like hurricane experiences from my end, like everyone kind of remembers like Hurricane Allison in 2001. That was a huge one.
Allison, not Harvey, bro.
I'm going back in time a little bit. The Allison in 2001, and then obviously we have Hurricane Rita 2009. But then everybody remembers like Harvey in 2017, where like that was the year like the Astros won the World Series. Like it's kind of like a banner year, but like earlier before we won, it was rough. Like that was it like in the end of spring, like it was like May, June. It was crazy. Like it was like at the beginning of hurricane, but it was a banger of a hurricane.
Might have been a little bit later.
Was it later in there? Okay.
I want to say
it was like
August.
Okay, I remember like being right before.
Hey, no, you might be right. I can't remember.
But yeah, like that was a memory I'll never forget. Like there's this street called West Belfort.
Freeze?
Yeah. Oh my God, the freeze and where everyone like
the Great Freeze. Any
God.
of our northern listeners probably think we're over exaggerating, but the problem is we have zero infrastructure in all of Texas to deal with any level of freeze,
especially Houston. Remember, I sent the group chat video of me like doing I was like, you see my breath in my room, like cold breath.
Because he was just dying in his room with no power, trying to get warm.
Hey guys, look, in case I die, look. But yeah, like wild. I don't know. So what's been your like best like natural disaster memory, like growing up in Houston?
Best natural disaster memory,
because we live it. We live it here, guys.
Oh my God! I probably worst is the best. Honestly, probably the most impactful to me. I still remember this vividly. It was like a small moment with Hurricane Harvey, where it just kept raining and raining and raining. Mm-hmm. So I was staying in my parents' house. It was like 3 families that were staying there, right? Okay. Because other people had evacuated, a bunch of people had come together, right? And my parents, we didn't have an evacuation order, so we were supposed to be safe, right?
Right.
So, a bunch of people, at least like close to 15 people staying there. And so I got stuck in some random room, but I had a view from that room while like lying in bed, directly out the window to this lake outside, like right outside, like man-made lake right outside my house, right? Mm-hmm. Very far down, pretty far from the house. Usually wouldn't really think about it. Not like super far, but like well below the level of the house. Right. The house is kind of like on a hill almost, like a small hill. Anyways, on that little incline to go down to the lake, there was a small tree, right? A growing tree, pretty thin, right? So it kind of looked like those poles they used to measure the level of the water.
Right.
You know
what
I'm talking about? Uh-huh. All right. So, I was asleep, didn't sleep much with all the rain and stuff, kind of stressed out and everything. So I kind of wake up in the middle of the night and, see like look out the window and see the lake and like kind of just keep seeing it. And the water, like it started below the tree, right? And it just started getting higher and higher and higher and climbing up the tree. And suddenly the tree started becoming like a water meter, like those water meters you see in bridges and stuff.
Man.
It just kept going up and up. And all I could think about was, where does it stop?
What floor were you on? Were you on the first floor?
We had 2 floors. I was on the second floor. Oh. So, I mean, we had room and all that. And there was still plenty. I think the water came, if it had gone a foot higher, 1 foot higher would have gone in my house.
Jeez.
It got all the way to the driveway. We're talking about a good, at least 6 feet, probably more, probably close to 8-9 feet from the edge of the lake normally to the door, right? Like we're talking about incline, vertical elevation. Mm-hmm. And by the end of it, like the kids, some of the kids, the younger kids, were literally playing in the street like it was a pool. Like it was one of those moving pools. Yeah. Like swimming around. Ugh. Not quite like swimming, but like playing in the water like it's a shallow pool.
Okay.
Like a kiddie pool.
It was that much, jeez.
On the street right in front of us, right? If our house hadn't been elevated, we're talking about, my cousin's house, who was not far from there, like 1 or 2 miles from my house, completely destroyed.
Man, so you know Braeswood, right? You know how their houses like that are right in front of the Brays Bayou.
Yeah,
they're all raised now, but it's because of this. In 2017, the water got to like 11, like 12 feet, and just took out like a bunch of the homes are like right in front. So now if you go drive by there on Braeswood, you see all the houses now are like, or most of them now are on like stilt thingies, just because it got so high, and they're made to like, you know, take the water. But I think they said it was like 200-year rain or something, like some crazy
it's supposed to be like a 1 in 100-year event or something. 100-year flood.
Yeah, in 2017, where like the infrastructure wasn't ready for it, and like you could see that. It was crazy.
I mean, nobody is. I mean, it's not really. The hurricane, it wasn't even that bad a hurricane. I don't know if you recall, the first day when the hurricane actually landed, I was literally having, as a joke, a hurricane party.
Oh.
Like, we were like having a fantasy football draft. We were all out having fun. It was a storm, but it didn't like. Use is fairly far inland, so we don't usually suffer too much from storms. People had been aware of Rita being overhyped.
Yeah, Rita was a whiff, a big whiff.
So basically, everyone was like, "Oh yeah, first day, everybody was chilling. They were gonna get a few days free off work at worst, all this stuff." So it was fine at first. It wasn't actually, as far as wind speed and all that, it didn't feel anywhere near as bad as this one.
Yeah.
That just happened, Hurricane Beryl. It wasn't a bunch of down power lines and stuff. Actually, most people still had power. But then the clouds just got stuck, and I don't think we saw the sun for like 4 days.
Yeah, and it did not stop. Like
for 4 days straight, I think raining. It just rained nonstop.
On YouTube, there's like this really cool time lapse. So you know that archway in Buffalo in Buffalo Bayou, that's like in the museum district.
Yeah,
there's like a camera that shows it. Those archways that go up, you can walk under that go up like 15 feet.
Yeah. So
me and Tanya were walking underneath the archway, and we saw, this is like 2018, 2019, and we saw like a log that was up there, and we're like, how the hell did I get up there? Then it turns out, no, the water that from Harvey was that high, and this was like a 15, almost like really, really tall archway. The water was so high that like it was able to just like perch along like perfectly up on top of there. So that time lapse showed that like the water got all the way up on there, and it was a scary amount of rain for 4 days.
It was absolutely preposterous. The destruction of people's homes, of everything, you know, the mold that would start to grow in all these people's homes. There wasn't the immediate destruction you associate with hurricanes. It was just a biblical level flood.
Yeah,
definitely. They would show like graphs or like images of how much water had fallen like on Houston compared to like other events, and it was some comical level of like honestly, it was the kind of thing where if it had happened, you know, in 2000 BC, they'd have been writing a story about Noah's Ark.
Dude, speaking of which, segue into this part, like,
it's a good segue.
In our favorite disaster movies. In The Day After Tomorrow, remember, which is one of my more rewatchable disaster movies. When New York, that flood comes in, it takes out the Statue of Liberty, and then it comes through like the city. And like some people are like not even paying attention and just get like messed up like bowling ball pin. From there, it's horribleness.
Who made that movie? Do you remember?
Roland Emmerich, the guy that did Independence Day,
okay,
and whatnot, fair. And Stargate.
No, you know what? I enjoyed the hell out of that movie.
Yeah, it was a great disaster.
The first time, Jake Gyllenhaal and was it Dennis Quaid?
Dennis Quaid.
Yeah, no, I did the hell of that movie, but the science in that movie. As an adult that's a little bit more educated, holy crap.
They ran away from the cold, literally ran from the cold.
Bro, they ran away from the cold, and then the cold decided to just conveniently stop at a wooden door.
Like a horror movie villain.
It's literally, it just stopped. Like, we have a door. I mean, that's it. They have a small fire. And
I remember that. It's like Jason. Like, oh, okay.
Man, there was a South Park episode that made fun of this movie, and it sends up the whole movie so well. It's called The Day Before the Day After Tomorrow.
I don't think I've ever seen. I've never.
You should
seen
watch
that.
It's the day before the day after tomorrow.
The day before the day. Okay.
Where like the boys blow up a dam accidentally and flood a town, and all the adults are like, global warming is destroying the world tomorrow, and they act like they're all freezing and stuff, but it's actually like a hot day in the middle of the summer, so they're all wearing like parka suits and stuff, and like having a heat stroke. But they think the heat stroke is actually proof of the hypothermia because they're idiots. It's very funny.
Oh man.
They make a lot of fun. It's an easy movie to make fun of once you understand just the slightest bit of science. It is a really fun movie, though. As far as disaster movies, entertaining disaster movies, it's a great movie. I have to shout this one out. Perfect Storm.
Oh, The Perfect Storm was
Perfect
great.
Storm with Mark Wahlberg. It's actually been a minute since I watched it. It's a pretty depressing movie.
Yeah,
a movie where all the bad guys lose.
Yeah.
I mean, all the good guys. There are no bad guys. The bad guys... I guess human hubris?
No, the bad guys that freaking wave in that trailer that scared me as a kid. I remember watching the trailer for that and that boat going up on that wave.
They kind of ignore some of the warnings. They do kind of ignore some of the warnings. Human hubris...
The hubris of man.
Could be considered kind of the villain of that.
That's a great disaster flick.
Right, but I mean, it's crazy. I get that one. I don't know how the science works out, but I can see how, a hurricane or just a particularly big storm forming while some guys are out fishing could be a horrific experience.
I want to give a shout out to Twister, 1996's Twister, the Helen Hunt, Bill Paxton classic about just the...
Twister's about to come out.
Oh, yeah, Twisters, the sequel's coming out. They had, Bill Paxton, Helen Hunt, what's that guy from...
Glenn, not close.
No.
Howerton?
No, he died. Oh, no.
Who's the famous guy in the movie? The guy who's in all the movies lately. Glenn Powell?
Oh, yeah, in the new one, yes, it's Glenn Powell, yes. Philip Seymour Hoffman was in the original Twister. Twister, man. Yeah, he was in there. Great cast.
Fuck you, heroin.
Yeah, it was a great cast. But
Philip Seymour Hoffman. I don't think I've ever seen a bad role with him.
Oh, no, he's always great. Remember that cow in Twister? In the trailer, it had like
we've talked about this, Kosi. This movie gave me nightmares.
Yeah. Oh no!
I didn't even watch the movie. The Universal ride.
Oh right.
The Universal ride, the Twister ride. Back when I was a kid, that scarred me for life, yo. I was 100% sure as a kid I was gonna die. First, tornadoes. I thought a tornado was gonna suck me up and kill me.
Dude, they're scary.
100% sure that was gonna happen to me one day. Second thing, I was 100% sure Saddam Hussein and Al Qaeda and a bunch of terrorists from Muslim countries were going to send weapons of mass destruction to my little middle of nowhere town in Sugar Land.
Same here. I thought that too.
I was 100% certain.
Yeah.
I was going to wake up one day to like a nuclear explosion because for me, weapons of mass destruction meant mushroom clouds. I didn't know what the fuck I was talking about. You know what I mean?
Oh man, yeah.
Hey, visualize a weapon of mass destruction. You picture the mushroom cloud, right?
Like I picture that scene in T2 when Sarah Connor looks at like L.A. and it gets like that scene and her skin flies off.
Yeah, most explosions don't look like that.
Yeah.
There's only nuclear explosions, so I mean, it's one of those things where, it just gets stuck in your head.
Yeah. Last but not least, though, for favorite disaster movie, 2012 with John Cusack, the movie about the end of the world, like they predicted because of like the magnetic polar ice caps go off. Great movie, great sequences. There's a limo that drives through LA as it like disintegrates. It's great. It's a great disaster action film that definitely wasn't like Beryl. Beryl was paled in comparison to these, so I'm glad. Houston is still in one piece. Again, prayers up to all the people that lost family members and stuff. And, stuff can be replaced, but family members can't, so prayers out to them. But I'm glad.
Any other... I actually never watched that movie. I really wanted to.
One more? You got one?
The Core.
Oh man, The Core, dude.
That's one of those movies like Day After Tomorrow.
Oh man,
before they hired, scientific consultants
Aaron
for
Eckhart,
movies.
Yeah, Hilary Swank. Yeah.
That's what happened. Like some
Stanley
of these
movies,
some of these movies just did not have scientific consultants. I'm not saying it has to be all perfectly accurate.
I think they said like the Earth's core stopped rotating to like make it hot, so we have to go in there and set off a bunch of nukes to restart the Earth's core.
First of all, if the core stopped being hot, life on Earth would end about like 10 minutes later.
But we got like a really convenient like countdown day to like build the ship and drill in there. I saw it as a kid. Like I think they showed it to us in school actually to teach us about like the Earth's different mantle and core. I think our teacher just was on just really cool, just really awesome teacher. So like so I remember seeing it and like it was kind of cool at the time. Like, hey, we'll burrow into the Earth and restart it. But like, it's one of those ones that like, does Armageddon count as like a disaster?
Is Armageddon the one
with Bruce Willis and Ben Affleck?
But it's not the one with Morgan Freeman as president, right?
No, that's Deep Impact.
Deep
with
Impact
Frodo.
is better. Deep Impact is better.
Deep Impact, Armageddon gets me in the corazon a lot more than Deep Impact.
Man,
but Deep Impact
you don't tear up when they talk about how they're gonna sacrifice themselves to destroy the meteor in Deep Impact.
There's a scene,
and then they say, oh, we're gonna get high schools named after us.
Yeah, they say their goodbyes.
Bro, that messes me up.
Yeah, I'm gonna get.
And then the scene with the daughter. What's she from? She used to be in a lot of stuff. The daughter in that movie, the main girl. She's like a journalist or something.
The main daughter to Robert Duvall's character?
Yeah.
His daughter? I don't remember. I've seen her before.
She's been in other stuff, but I can't think off the top of my head.
Hold on.
We can look it up.
I'll look it up for you.
Look it up, Jamie.
Yeah, I'll pull it up. But no, for Deep, that scene, I think Jon Favreau's in that movie too.
Yeah, he was. And then, of course, first movie with the black president.
Yeah.
Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman, I honestly think, did a lot to get people used to the fact that, by the time Barack Obama rolled around, we've seen a black president before.
You think that was what primed the world?
I honestly think it's a good example of how representation can kind of change people's perspectives.
I think even in like 90, it was in
98.
98 when it came out. Nobody even blinked because it's Morgan Freeman.
Morgan Freeman.
He was the man.
It had to be some guy like that, right? If it had been 50% as president, that would have.
Morgan Freeman was a distinguished gentleman. Back, I was gonna say her name was Annabeth Gish, but I was wrong.
Tia Leone.
From Bad Boys. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Bad Boys.
Yeah. Okay,
that's what she's in.
Right.
Bad
okay, I remember her. Yeah.
She did Family Man too. I don't know if you ever watched that with Nick Cage.
No. Well, talking about the Family Man.
Yeah, the Family Man.
Okay, I remember that movie. Yes.
Nick Cage goes back in time.
Yeah.
That was a good movie, actually.
Great pull for Deep Impact, man.
Yeah.
And Armageddon, two competing disaster movies, but yeah, guys, that was our takes on just our favorite disaster movies, and also just giving y'all a little insight to our neck of the woods with Beryl. We're fine. We're alive.
Has there been a hurricane? I guess Perfect Storm, kind of.
Perfect Storm was a disaster because it was a really
like hurricane. Even that was like out at sea.
It was at sea. It was like that part. Yeah, I consider that.
Man, that scene at the end when Mark Wahlberg's just floating in the water,
right?
And you realize the boat, because there's a scene where it looks like the boat's gonna crest over the wave and they're gonna make it.
Nope.
And every one of those movies at the time, this was 20 years ago.
2000.
This was back before everybody was trying to subvert expectations with every movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you thought that boat was gonna clear and they were gonna get back at something, and nope, all of them gone. It was. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about.
Great film.
The ocean is such a scary place, man.
Yeah.
Before we go,
it's time
for our one-shot spin.
One shot, one opportunity.
All right, Juan.
You all know the rules so far. We're gonna spin first for streaming service, and then after we get a streaming service, we'll pick a genre. We'll spin again for genre. Mm-hmm. We'll go and pick something and let you know what our thoughts are on next week.
All right, so first we're going to spin for the streaming service.
Amazon Prime.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. There's some bangers on there. All right, now let's spin for the genre.
So it is. Hold on, the lighting's kind of weird. Action adventure.
So,
all right, time to pull on. You got your Amazon, Kosi?
So let me go to Amazon Prime. So we're looking for an action adventure.
Yeah, action adventure TV show
on Amazon Prime, and one we haven't really.
Preferably one that's not as well known.
Okay, I'll pull it up right here.
Something the audience can get a fresh take on.
Okay, so
we don't want to pick The Boys. Everybody's already knows about that show,
Yeah, the idea behind the one shot is again to give a show that maybe does not get a lot of love, does not get a lot of traction. Let's see here.
Give it that one shot to impress us.
Okay, so I'm now an action adventure on TV shows.
Okay, let's do it.
But there's subtitles watch it.
All right. So after looking through a little bit,
of course you picked this one.
We're going to pick Zorro, baby.
Come on,
Mexican
bro.
superhero. Or are you Spanish superhero?
No. You're right, because Juan de la Vega, the actual Zorro in this, is Mexican, but I think it takes place in like Spain. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do the Spanish.
I'll always shout out the original Zorro movie, Mask of Zorro.
Antonio Banderas,
being one of the first big, really the best first Latino superhero, as far as I can tell.
It definitely felt like a little bit of Batman, a little bit of Three Musketeers, a little action in there.
It was that kind of
vibe. It was awesome.
He was basically Mexican Batman.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so
he even had a Batcave.
He had a Batcave. He had an Alfred / like trainer guy. Yeah, it was great. Played by Anthony Hopkins.
The Alfred was the older. It was more like a Batman Beyond situation.
It was Batman, dude. You're right, man. That movie's great. That movie's awesome. I love Mask of Zorro. Good pull.
Yeah, so we will check out the Prime version of Zorro.
All right.
We'll give you guys our thoughts next week.
Dude, great show, man. And
great show. And finally, we'll end with a quick plug of the week. All right, Cozy, you got anything to plug?
Let me see here. On here, a show that I've actually wanted to watch on Prime is But I'm a Virgo. When I went out to do my work late at night, I was like trying to figure out what I wanted to watch, and it was a Prime Video show. It's about this guy who's like a giant. He lives in Oakland, like in Oakland. It's like in a surreal version of Oakland. Kind of reminds me of Atlanta a little bit, but like like hyper realistic stuff. But yeah, it's about this guy who's a giant and kind of has been caged in and like sheltered by his mom. And one day he tries to just go out and just interact with the world, and just a lot of hijinks and adventures come out. So the guy who directed Sorry to Bother You produced this. Like, he worked with like this director to get it made. And it's again just one episode I watched just randomly, and it was fantastic. So yeah, it's called But I'm a Virgo, and it's actually also on Amazon Prime Video. Would be my plug of the week. So check it out.
Okay, interesting plug of the week. I want to make a quick half plug to not shooting presidential candidates.
Great plug. Great plug, actually.
Great plug to that. Not shooting up your fellow Americans. That's another great plug. But my real plug of the week is a tricky one. Actually, you know what?
Give me anything. It really give me anything. What's on your
heart? I wanna make a more specific than usual. Generally, I would say a TV show. I want to plug South Park, but I almost want to specifically plug roughly from. It's still a good show. It's not like Simpsons where it's fallen off, or Family Guy where the show's just not quite in its heyday. South Park's still really good. But I want to shout out from about like season 10 to about 13. If you want to like somewhere to kind of start on. Just the quality of TV, some of the classic ones. It's the one where you see a lot of the memes, like Randy yelling, "I thought this was America," or yelling, fighting in the stands. It's the one where some of the banned episodes, or Cartoon Ones episodes, where they try to show Muhammad and made fun of Family Guy. It's a lot of classic, interesting episodes. Very consistent, high level humor. If you're looking for a place to start, the whole show is good. But the older shows feel a little bit archaic, and there's so many seasons, it can be a little overwhelming.
Like 25 seasons.
There's 25. It can be pretty overwhelming to try to like get into a few. So if you're kind of looking for a starting point, season 10 to around 13 has some classics, and you don't really need to watch them in any specific order, so you can enjoy them any way you want.
All right, and that's been the plug of the week. Thanks, Juan.
Yeah. So. Listen, guys, a very special episode. Be safe out there.
Please.
It
please,
does
guys.
feel like the possibilities have changed. Maybe not. Maybe, we were already a country where we had already gotten used to kids in schools apparently getting shot up as just a fact of life. So maybe it's time for, the people doing nothing about that to feel what that's like.
Thanks, Juan. Thank you very much for this, special episode. I want to thank you, viewers, for listening, and I want to just thank you guys just for coming out and listening to us. Again, you can find us on Spotify under It Was Mooney. You can also find us on our YouTube channel under the same name, where you can find our full-length podcast episodes along with other content. Once again, I've been Kosi, and I'm joined always by Wannabe. And until next time, guys, peace.
Adios.